Hello, and welcome back to the podcast. Today's podcast is actually on King Kong versus Godzilla,
Godzilla
monkey
vs Kong.
versus lizard.
Godzilla vs Kong.
Okay, it doesn't really matter. Anyway, I'm here with the usuals, Owen, Dan, and we've got a special guest. His name's Luke. But you know, there you go. Say hi, Luke.
Hi.
He just did, but okay.
Great. So I'm just gonna get straight into it. So, obviously, Luke, you're a special guest. So, and before I say anything, we all watched this in IMAX, because the cinemas opened in the UK.
Our first
so
cinema
on
outing
Monday.
since
first
last
cinema
year.
outing since last year, and I can tell you that the IMAX experience for this movie was special. But we'll get into it when we get into the podcast. So, Luke, what was your first? What's your views on the film?
Well, I don't know if it was just because I haven't watched a film in the cinema in a while, or whether it was just a really good film. But yeah, it was great. IMAX, all the action scenes, very loud, very action packed, very immersive film, and just general all round. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
Great, that's wonderful. Owen, what about you?
Oh, great! Yeah. So, as Luke was saying, I think this film is one of the best films to restart going back to cinema. As I said, very amazing sound,
Definitely.
huge screen. So like every little detail really popped out. It was an amazing experience. As the film itself, pretty fantastic movie. But I do think I prefer it more purely because it was in the cinema, because that really made everything like really like heightened the experience. The story is honestly not that great. Like as like the actual storyline is.
What story? There is no story.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense half of it. That whole
Just
side
fight
plot with
scenes.
Millie Bobby Brown makes no sense.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the fight scenes, actions, where everything they retake there would be. I'll talk more about like that later. But yeah, for now, it's a great film.
And Dan?
Yeah, so it's the first film I saw in the cinema since August. Actually, well, which was also IMAX. That was Tenet, so that was also good. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought I do. There's definitely some flaws with practically zero plot, and I guess just not as much monkey versus lizard as you'd hope for in Godzilla vs Kong. But yeah, no, I still enjoyed it for the whole cinema experience, and it was definitely a fun watch. Yeah.
Right.
Back over to you, Finley.
Yeah, so when we went to go watch it in IMAX, I've never been to an IMAX, and the screen was just massive, right? And I thought too, when I got in there, I was like, you know, I'm not gonna. It's too big. I'm gonna not be able. I'll be moving my head to every shot. I wouldn't be able to see it. And then when we got into the film and the film started, it just made the experience so much better. I mean, you could feel, hear, and just see like everything. And when you're watching it, especially the action scenes, you were like, it was just made it so. I don't know. I can't find the word, but you know, you were so focused on the fight scene that it made it even more better. And like you said, Owen, I think King Kong versus Godzilla was good or amazing because of the cinema experience that we got. Obviously no plot, but that doesn't really matter because the fight scenes were just interesting.
It had a plot, but it was very convoluted.
I just went there for King Kong versus Godzilla, to be honest. I don't really care about the podcast.
One thing these movies do, I'm talking about Kong Skull Island, King of the Monsters, and the original Godzilla, which came out in 2014. They carry on the story in their credits. So at the end of King of the Monsters, they end it really abruptly, but then they just like tell the rest of the story through like newspaper articles. And they do the sort of same thing with the opening credits for this film.
Hold on a minute, Owen. Last week you were saying this sort of thing is lazy storytelling. One,
yes, it is. So it is.
Okay.
I'm saying because one of my criticisms is I don't think the writers know how to finish these stories. They end on this giant fight, but how do you come back from that giant fight? And I think that's what they also struggle with in this film, because like they don't really take into
Well,
account.
they had the sex scene, I suppose, the post credits, so that was quite nice.
Oh yeah, well, and that obviously, yeah.
Yeah.
But they don't take into account like the human damage of it all, which you shouldn't in this film. So I don't think we really care about the human damage with like we enjoy an action film instead of having to think about the repercussions of it all. But they have to do a little bit of that, I think, and they don't really do that in the film.
The millions of people that died on the boats that just got like.
Well, and in was it Hong Kong?
In Japan.
I thought so bad.
Destroyed like
so
20
bad
buildings.
Yeah.
Just 20 skyscrapers.
Yeah.
Yeet through each other around it.
But yeah, cool. So as you said, you were saying something about the action sequences. What I think is a key part of every action sequence is that you feel the momentum of every swing, of every punch, of every kick, of every blow to the enemy. And with IMAX and with this film, you definitely got that. Like it was always like such like huge momentum to every punch, and you really felt that with the sound sound design. I think that's another one of the film's main strengths. Is that
I think that was they did a very good job with it, considering it's essentially like a cartoon that you're watching at the end of the day. It's just two computer generated things fighting, but then even the sound design of the punches and the impacts and the noises is all like very realistic. And I know they did it in Kong Skull Island. They like animated every single individual hair on King Kong, and it was like some crazy. It's like 650,000 hairs or something. But they do like a ridiculous amount of work for the animation here, and it was some pretty. I'd say it's good CGI. There were a couple points where it kind of dipped a bit for me, but
yeah. Where?
When they were under the water, I think when
when Kong was
the
drowning.
two Titans, yeah. That was a little bit ropey.
I have a question for you guys. So we talked about how the story wasn't that great earlier. Do you think the film would have been the same without the Millie Bobby Brown side story?
Yes.
Why? Was give me more on that, please.
Because I didn't see. I mean, it was just a podcast about. She was just listening to a podcast about a guy finding out that there's a robotic Godzilla, but they could have just brought it out in the typical manner of like, they didn't need the Millie Bobby Brown and that guy finding out, did they?
There was no bridge between the two sections. They were completely unrelated, and the only connection between the two plots was them spilling the alcohol on the machine and destroying.
That's all that guy did.
Which was very dumb as well. So
that's all that guy did.
Completely missed out that whole section and just gone straight to the mech Godzilla just bursting out into Hong Kong. And
then just fighting for an hour straight.
It was a 2-hour film
that side story at all.
I mean, it's the shortest MonsterVerse film ever, and yet it still could have been made a lot shorter without the side plot. If they just had more generic fighting, it still would have been better because of that experience and just given up. Well,
would you have got bored if there was too much fighting?
I mean, there's a film called Free Fire, which is essentially it's essentially an hour and a half of people shooting each other from each end of a warehouse. And while it does get boring at some points, it's still it manages to keep you engaged. And it's essentially just people shooting each other, and that's it. There's no sort of plot there at all.
I do think the film does drag on a bit, that film, though. That's just my experience. But I feel like if this film was just fighting, it would have got a bit boring over a while, I think, like Luke said.
Yeah.
But
I think you've got to get the right balance, haven't you? But the side story just isn't really needed. I think they could have done it a bit differently.
The whole side story with Kong and Hollow Earth was amazing. Hollow Earth. They've been building up to the whole Hollow Earth thing since Godzilla 1. Well, not Godzilla 1, Godzilla 2014. And we finally get to see it, and it's so amazing to look at. The world and lore they put into it is amazing. And
the whole upside down feeling, and
it definitely sets up a later films really well.
The whole 5 minutes introduction we get when they burst through into Hollow Earth, amazing. Graphics are wow.
I was also talking to Luke about what King Kong and Godzilla does quite well is the soundtracks, especially for Kong when you're introduced to him. Because when Luke was watching, I think it was Skull Island, he was talking to me about how he really enjoyed the, like, I think it was Vietnam, Welcome to Vietnam or something soundtrack, as they're coming
the
into King
introduction song. As they're
introduction,
coming into
and that sort of
Skull
just
Island,
set the
yeah.
mood and hyped him up. And then also it did for me as well. And then in this film, it did the same for Kong, just had a bit more of less like Welcome to Vietnam sort of style, but more like, I don't know, I just
More of
enjoyed
a
the soundtrack.
relaxed,
More
peaceful
relaxed piece
kind of
beat, but
introduction.
it did
Yeah.
set the mood really well.
No, I completely agree. Also, I think I touched on earlier. Like, obviously, we have the deaf girl. I don't remember her name, who communicates with Kong. The sound design with her scenes are pretty amazing as well. Like on like the Sound of Metal sort of sound design. I think.
Oh no, not Sound of Metal level, but
No. I would definitely say that for the deaf scenes, 100%. Like, it has that sort of warped feeling in your ear that it gets. I feel like it would be in the sense of.
it wasn't as good. I definitely think Sound of Metal was just like fast, like the best sound in a film. Whereas, I mean, obviously, I suppose a lot of the budget goes towards Titans rather than like making her sound deaf. But yeah, I get what you mean. It was convincing enough to know that she's deaf without having her doing sign language all the time and stuff like that. So that was good.
Who knew Kong knew sign language? Eh?
Yeah.
Oh,
Who taught him that? That's the real question.
So why can't they teach Godzilla sign language? Surely he's just.
I swear, Godzilla's more hostile because he's like obviously like Kong is
The big
like an
lizard.
ape. Kong's an ape, so he's like a descendant of us or whatever.
Yeah,
Right.
he's seen a bit more prehistoric to me, isn't he? Because he's a
Yeah.
dinosaur instead of monkey.
I mean,
just...
Owen, you've seen kind of the predecessor to Godzilla. You've seen King of the Monsters.
Yeah, I haven't seen Skull Island though, but yeah.
No. So in King of the Monsters, he was portrayed as more of a protagonist, wasn't he?
And yeah,
As
he
Godzilla.
still is in this film, but the thing is, in both films, it's about leadership. So it's Godzilla has to like he's an apex predator in a way, so he has to be the top, and Kong it was in his way of being the top in this film. So that's why they had to fight. But we feel more sympathy for Kong because we follow his story more, and therefore have more compassion with him. And yeah, that's what I have to say about that. But
and Luke, you've also previously seen Skull Island. So what?
Yeah.
So have I.
And Finley. But like, what do you think of like Kong's portrayal in that, like compared to this film?
One thing I would say that's a lot different is in this film you can sort of clearly tell that Godzilla's the more powerful one, just because of his laser, and that's one of the things I didn't like, because I feel like if Kong had got hit by the laser, that would have been it, sort of film over. So they just kept avoiding, like, oh, he's got back up again, you know, he's avoided the laser, he's jumped around, avoided the laser again.
That's what I thought was cool about it, because he's jumping between the skyscrapers, avoiding this laser that's like a game. And also, would you say if they added, so when he went into his like homeland or his home, would you say you would have enjoyed it more if he found his brothers and sisters down there, and Kong joined the robot? No, not Kong. Godzilla joined the robot. So it's the robot and Godzilla versus Kong and his brothers and sisters. I think that would be sick.
I think that would have been quite cool.
Yeah.
But I think one of the main points of Skull Island was that he was the last one alive. So I think by bringing some of his family back, they might have ruined the Skull Island film just by sort of it's all a lie, instead of him being the only one.
No.
I actually had to agree with Finny though. I do think that would have been better, because, like, as far as I'm
big
concerned,
ending fight scene.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, they essentially gave up on most of the plot here. So I thought, just why not go for it? But yeah, that, like, now that you bring that up, that does sound a lot better than what they delivered, which was kind of just. I mean,
but then again, based on what
imagine
the film was supposed to be, that there was only one apex predator. If you bring back his whole family, then you instantly brought back many more apex predators.
That's true.
But I thought it'd just be a bit sick, just monkeys flying, swinging through like Hong Kong, like drop kicking Godzilla. I mean,
I feel like they might do something with this like a later film, like a little flashback, or maybe like a whole prequel story in general. Because I think that's what they're setting up here with Hollow Earth. There's like more world building and lore into that, and they might set up like a sort of another Kong film where half of it is just a flashback to when all the Apex monkeys, whatever.
Well, you saw they can make Apex Predators because they made those little dinosaurs on, not dinosaurs, but whatever Titan that was on Skull Island.
Mecha Godzilla?
In the eggs.
Oh.
No,
The
in eggs. Yeah. Yeah, Skullcrackers. So I wouldn't see the problem in them making a Kong, like a Gal Kong.
They definitely have the opportunity to do a flashback, as you said, and show how Kong's family died. Because if he's such a powerful monkey, then like how comes the rest of his family's not still survived?
Monkey swim, monkey power.
I suppose I did kind of, when like coming out of the cinema, I did kind of feel a bit like cheated, because in a lot of the trailers it always like one of their main advertising kind of on the post and everything was one will full, and they kind of they lent on that. They lent. No, but neither of them like.
Yes,
fell.
it did. Kong was going to die.
He didn't die though. We were promised one of them will die by the end.
No, one of them will fall, not one will die. One will fall, and one of them fell.
It did turn into a bit of a game of like boxing, because it was like, oh, he's won round one.
Round one goes to Godzilla.
I don't know.
Kong died, but hold on, we can restart his heart. And then they sort of like, oh, friends.
This is.
It did feel like a bit of a cop out for me.
This is what I think. Godzilla vs Kong did what Batman vs Superman tried to do, and I bring that up because this is a very, very similar film. To these two like usual protagonists fight each other due to differences and or power, but then they eventually join forces to defeat a bigger villain. And in Superman vs Batman, it's Armageddon, I think. I can't remember the name. And in this one,
Darkseid.
No, it's not. No, it's Apocalypse. I think that's his name. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. There's a big villain in Batman vs Superman.
In Hobbs and Shaw, it's Hobbs and Shaw and Brixton.
Yeah, but they don't. Yeah, fine, but whatever. And two
enemies turn into friends to fight a cybernetically enhanced creature.
The differences in this one is the Mecha Godzilla doesn't feel like a sort of cop out, like just a way to push a narrative forwards. Not knowing it has been introduced in earlier films, it's also been building up to Mechagodzilla, as it makes sense why it's there, and it actually like is a villain, and it makes sense why they got to there, and that's why I think it's a really great narrative, but the actual story content was just not that great. For our viewers at home, just a little clarification: Finley has now left the meeting to an unidentified cause that we were never.
He had the chicken burger. He had to suffice his needs.
The chicken was calling, so he had to.
A man's got to do what a man's got to do.
But as I was saying, the film has an amazing sense of scale. I think how it works with scale. So on scale 1, you have humans. They're quite small in comparison to their surroundings. Scale 2, you have buildings, which look tiny in comparison with the next level, which is Titans. Then the next level after that is Earth and Hollow Earth, and making them look tiny. And it works with scale in a really seamless way. It's not really disorientating to watch. It's very smooth, and it works brilliantly. Which I think is another positive.
I think that was especially effective with the axe as well. I was very surprised by kind of, although it did seem a bit off kind of the scale of the axe, because at some point it was like larger than the tallest building, and then I suppose kind of Earth and Hollow Earth had different scales, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
but I did think that like that was like impressive, especially on an IMAX screen. Just I don't know, the animation was just very well done for that.
I don't know about you guys, but I was actually quite confused how the axe activated the sort of cave thing, and then Godzilla sort of cut through the earth.
I think now
that's one of the main flaws. I think it just. I think the movie just doesn't really care about being like scientifically accurate in any way. Obviously,
it probably would have taken another like 20 minutes to explain that, and it would have just seemed unnecessary, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
I mean,
at that point, I was thinking maybe there's some old friendship instead of rivalry, because like Godzilla's carved into the floor of the monkey temple, but
yeah,
apparently that wasn't the case.
It was quite confusing actually at some points.
Unless that's a hint on the next film.
I was just about to say,
Wait.
their rivalry is not really over yet. Like,
Is there a confirmed like sequel next film then?
There's confirmed more films in the MonsterVerse,
Yeah.
but not Godzilla vs Kong 2. But I think there will be some sort of rivalry there still underlying.
Okay.
But
there's such a big opportunity to show either
100%.
the past or develop. Maybe develop a relationship with them too, because they seem to leave it on sort of a. Well, I don't know really.
Yeah,
bit of an open ending.
Yeah,
100%. And there's so many more monsters to explore.
That was funny though. It did seem quite like the end of a romance or whatever when Godzilla was slowly walking away. That was just hilarious to me. I don't know why.
The final little roar at each other,
Yeah.
and then he just jumps into the water.
Leads in for the kiss, then goes straight back into the water.
This film does a really great thing on like delivering like what the fans wanted out of this. I think it, like in terms of action and just the overall conclusion, they really hit it out of the park with obviously introducing Mechagodzilla, a very pivotal character in the early Godzilla films, and it also just it's having fun with it, which I think it's not taking it's not trying to be serious, it's not trying to be a big emotional story. It's just having fun with it and doing a great job in doing that. I think even the opening credits, I don't know if you saw, whenever a character's name was introduced, there was a little bit of dialogue that was covered up by a white line. It was very brief, but I kept looking at it. I wanted to read what it said. Apparently, it said like it literally said what happened to each character in the film, and it's covered up real quick with the white line. It's like secrecy. But again, it's another example of them having fun with material. I thought that was a great aspect.
I've seen very mixed reviews for this film. To be honest, I've seen a few that have given it very low and just went not enough Godzilla vs Kong, and a lot of people saying it's the best MonsterVerse film, and it delivered a lot. It's just been quite.
I genuinely think people don't like it as much because they didn't see it in the cinema. Because most people have seen it at home, and it's just not. Because
it's gone HBO Max release at the same time as it got released in cinemas in America.
Yeah.
So that would have been a big factor in it. Yeah, definitely.
And that about wraps it up for today's episode of ThreeCameramen. Thank you all for watching. Before we go, any last ratings? I'll go to Luke first. Out of 10, how are you gonna rate this?
I'm gonna say 8. 8 out of 10.
8. Daniel?
Solid. Yeah, I agree with that. Solid 8 out of 10.
And I'm gonna add on to that 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10 then, all round.
I think our first ever match.
8 all round.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure Finley will say the same if he was still with us.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you all for watching.
Check out the Spotify. We're on Spotify.
Thank you, Luke, for coming on to the podcast.
Right. Anytime.
See you all next week with another great podcast.
There you go.
There we go.